guys, how are you today? Hope you're doing well. Boy, it's cold out, and you'll notice I have a sweatshirt, a big heavy sweatshirt on today because it's so cold. Today I'm going to share a story called From Seed to Maple Tree, and we're going to be continuing our work with finding the main idea and supporting details. I can't say that correctly, can I, this week? You'll also notice that on your Google Classwork, you have 2 assignments listed, and one of the assignments is going to go along with our book today. So I hope that if you have any questions, Mrs. Boffman sent an email to Mom and Dad last night explaining how to get on, and there is some directions on your stream for how you're going to go ahead and complete a separate worksheet today for reading. So make sure you're doing careful listening today for the main idea and the details of our story From Seed to Maple Tree. I'm lucky enough, I have a huge maple tree in my backyard, and Mr. Boffman and I just love it. It shades our patio. Once it gets its leaves, which it's starting, we notice it's got some buds on the leaves, and we notice that it's going to open up soon. It's a huge tree. I bet some of you might have a maple tree in your backyard. And this also follows along with the life cycles, because what we're going to learn is that trees also have a life cycle, just like some animals do. So get comfy. Close those eyes again. We haven't done this in a while. Close those eyes. Pretend you're at the meeting place. Pretend you're sitting right in front of my little feet there. And let's get going. You ready? Okay. Tree life cycles. Like animals, trees and other plants have a life cycle. There are many kinds of trees. Let's look at the life cycle of a sugar maple tree. We'll see how it changes over seasons and years. Maple trees are deciduous. This means that they lose their leaves each year. And boy, Mr. Boffman and I know our big maple tree loses its leaves. It seems like there's millions of them that we have to rake up in the fall. So trees that lose their leaves are called deciduous. A seed in spring. Trees start out as seeds. Even the largest tree grows from a tiny seed. Sugar maple seeds lie on the ground at the end of winter. The days get longer, the snow melts, and then it's time for the seed to germinate or to sprout. Giant redwood trees can grow to be more than 300 feet tall. Their trunks can be 30 feet wide, but even they start out from very small seeds. I think it's amazing that something so small as a seed can grow up into something so large as a maple tree. A seedling. A strong white root pushes out of the sugar maple seed into the ground. A stem grows upward through the soil and into the air. It's kind of stretching up to reach that sun. The seed grows into a small plant. The young plant is called a seedling. Sunlight and water help the seedling grow. Sugar maple seedlings are a favorite food for a white-tailed deer. I don't have any deers in my backyard. We have had some coyotes, we have some squirrels, we've had a lot of rabbits that are eating my bushes this year. Growing tall and strong. Each year, the seedling grows during spring and summer. The sun and warm temperatures during those 2 seasons help the tree grow. The tree grows about 1 foot taller each year. Its trunk gets a little bit thicker. The seedling becomes a sapling when it reaches the height of more than 6.6 feet. Growth continues for about 30 or 40 years. Then the maple tree is an adult. Its growth slows down. A sugar maple can stand 70 to 110 feet tall, and they can live for between 300 and 400 years. Can you believe that? Now, and that's as long as the tree doesn't get damaged by any of the wind or weather, or it doesn't get any diseases. A maple tree can last a very long time. Flowers make eggs. An adult sugar maple tree grows flowers in springs. The flowers are greenish yellow and droopy. Each flower can have both male and female parts, but it can also have just male or female parts. The male parts make a yellow powder called pollen. The female parts make eggs. When a sugar maple tree is flowering, the tree might look yellow. And if any of you are like me in the springtime here, Mrs. Boffman is allergic to tree pollen, and so as the trees are pollinating, my nose gets awful runny and I even tend to sneeze a lot. I have a hard time with this in the early spring. Flowers to fruit. Wind and insects help make new maple trees. A good wind can pick up the pollen and blow it to another maple tree's flower. Bees and other insects can carry pollen too. The pollen lands on the female part of the flower. This process is called pollination. Bees help with pollination. A bee stops at a sugar maple to drink its liquid or nectar. Pollen on the flower sticks to the bee's feet, and the bees fly to another flower. This time, its feet leave the pollen behind. Boys and girls, do you remember when our friend Mr. Patterson came to talk to us about the bees and their pollination? We talked just about this, how they have little pollen baskets on the backs of their feet, and that's where they collect the pollen and take it from plant to plant. The fruit, the pollinated sugar maple flowers grows into a fruit. The hard fruit is called a double samara. It looks like a pair of seeds with small wings attached. Look at this. This is what they're talking about. This is called a double samara. You may notice these. They happen in the fall, and they kind of, when they fall down from the trees, they kind of spin. And so when I was a little kid, we used to call these helicopters. The fruit ripens in September and October, and then it falls from the tree. Usually the fruit carries one seed inside, and the seed will be able to grow into another sugar maple. In the fall, it's good for the seeds to be covered by the leaves on the ground. The leaves hide the seeds from squirrels and other birds that eat seeds. And so these, if they fall in the fall, in the spring you might notice that little seedlings pop up. I know Mr. Boffman and I we have little seedlings that have grown in our yard, and we actually planted a maple tree seedling, and it has grown to a big, beautiful tree. Flying seeds. The wing shape of a double samara helps the fruit catch the wind. The fruit can blow far away from the parent tree. The parent tree uses lots of water and food from the soil. Because of this fact, seeds grow better when they're not near their parent tree. Seeds also need to be cold and wet during winter. These conditions help them sprout during the next spring. Leaves get their color from chlorophyll. During the fall, there's less sunlight for leaves to absorb, so they start breaking down the chlorophyll for energy. Then the leaves change into bright colors, and soon the leaves will fall to the ground. And so in order, trees have chlorophyll that change the leaves in the fall. And without that, the leaves wouldn't change color. Wintering. During winter, the double samara lies on the ground. It does not break open. The seed does not start to grow. But inside the seed, it's alive and preparing for spring. So it's resting here on top of the soil. It's covered by the snow. Inside the seed, it is growing, but it is not breaking apart. When spring arrives, the sun shines for a longer amount of time each day. The ground thaws, then the sugar maple seed sprouts. The life cycle of a sugar maple tree begins. An adult maple tree is about 20 to 25 years old. Most sugar maples die from disease or insect damage, and some are chopped down. And you can tell here, this is as spring is happening. It's starting to sprout, and it's going down into the earth. And this is a super cool, this is what we call a diagram. And if you look at it, it has a title. It's called The Life Cycle of the Sugar Maple Tree. And it shows you that it's a cycle. And we start with one seed, and it's there for in the seed for about 5 to 6 months. Next, we have the seedling, and that'll last between 1 and 15 years. Seems like a long time. Then we have the sapling, and this is what I have in my backyard because my tree isn't 30 years old yet. It's between 16 and 30 years old. And then we get an adult, we don't get an adult maple tree until they are 30 years old or older. And we know that they have the ability to live for 300 to 400 years if they don't have any damage or any disease. But we know that, I'm sure you've noticed the last couple days, it's been very, very windy. And sometimes that will harm diseased trees because they don't root really good at the ground, and then when the wind is able to knock or blow them over. And you may have noticed that in the area or maybe even in your own backyard. Okay. Now today you are going to go back. When you finish this, you're not going to do any writing on paper, but we have a different assignment for you, and you're going to find this in the Google Classwork tab. You might notice that there are 2 assignments. One assignment, and that's for this one for the book, is a main idea worksheet. And there are directions to get you there. And when you get onto the worksheet, you are going to click. You're going to need to use your computer, and you're going to click and type right on the worksheet. And when you're done with that, you're going to send that worksheet electronically to Mrs. Boffman. I'm going to look at it, and I'll comment back to you. There are a couple of extra steps, but I know you've been so smart, and with Mom's and Dad's help, you're going to be pros at this. You'll be able to get this to me. So now what I want you to do is think about what was the main idea of my book and what were some supporting details. Now, if you're saying, uh-oh, now I forgot, you are welcome to go back and listen again. But remember, you're not writing this down on a paper in your notebook. You're going to submit a second assignment today. One assignment will be this main idea worksheet, and the other one, boys and girls, is going to be your Google form like usual. Okay, I know you can do it. Miss you like crazy. Love you all, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great night.